Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I welcome you to the series History, Science and Faith in Islam. This session is on the Battle of Chaldiran, fought between the Ottomans and the Safavids in 1514. The Turkish kingdoms of the Karakuyunlu and Akkuyunlu did not last because the rulers did not establish enduring political and administrative structures to sustain their empires. The Safavids were successful, while the Kuyunlus failed because they built a legacy of lasting political and administrative structures. Their imprint on the political, social, cultural, administrative, and religious life of Persia was so profound that it lasts to this day. Indeed, the Safavids had a major impact on the history and culture of Central and West Asia, as well as India and Pakistan. By any measure, Shah Ismail I was a brilliant man. He was also a ruthless man. Ascending the throne of Tabriz in 1501, at the age of 14, he set out to consolidate the former empire of Akkuyunlu under his flag. In the uncertain times following the collapse of the Kuyunlu kingdoms, people needed a new sponsor for protection. Constant warfare had exhausted the population, and some believed in the coming of the Mahdi or the resurrection of the hidden Imam. Ismail built on the groundwork laid by his grandfather, Sheikh Junaid. Junaid had traveled throughout Turkey, Persia, and Syria, attracting followers and converting the Turks to his religious order. Through his tireless struggle, the Safaviya became a major political religious movement in West Asia. As news of Ismail's military successes spread, many of the Turkish tribes gravitated to him. Followers of the Safaviya movement flocked to Tabriz to join his forces. A rapid expansion of his territories followed. It is impossible to discuss the achievements of Ismail without at the same time considering his religious leanings, because they determined to a large extent the subsequent relations between the emerging Safavid Empire and the Ottoman Empire. Shah Ismail was an ardent champion of the Isna Ashari fiqh. The core of his guards wore a red cap with 12 perforations in it, signifying their allegiance to the 12 Imams. These were called the Qazilbash. Ismail was at once the temporal and spiritual leader of the Safaviya movement, combining in his person the dual roles of the Khutub, meaning the pole, Sadr, meaning the religious head, and Sultan. His word was the law, and his followers venerated him as an invincible sheikh in the lineage of Ali ibn Abu Talib radiallahu anhu. Ismail was also heir to the legacy of his maternal grandfather, Sultan Uzun Shah. He therefore considered the vast Akkuyunlu Empire that was once ruled by Uzun Shah's son rightfully his by birth. As soon as he entered Tabriz, Ismail declared the Ithna Ashari to be the official fiqh. At the time, most inhabitants of Tabriz followed the Shafi'i fiqh. Ismail was ruthless in forcing his religious views on the population. Most of the Shafi'i ulama were punished, banished, or worse. Such forceful introduction of Shia views was repeated in later years when Shah Ismail captured Herat and Khorasan. Whether this was done because of the youthful zeal of the king or because the Shia tenets provided him a distinctive political religious umbrella, it is difficult to tell. Some of the views held by Ismail were extreme and contrary to Ithna Ashari beliefs as well. For instance, in his earlier years, Ismail I, as evidenced by the poetry he wrote, considered himself the shadow of God on earth, invincible in war. He even placed the name of Ali ibn Abu Talib before the name of the Prophet. Muslims who follow the Ithna Ashari fiqh do not accept these views. The Turks played a crucial role in the early history of the Safavids. Most of Ismail's army was from the Turkish ranks. Prominent Turkish tribes who joined Ismail armies included the Turkmen, the Qajar, the Afshar, the Shamblu, and the Ustajlu. When Ismail captured Tabriz from the Akkuyunlu, he appointed a Turk, Shamsuddin Kukunji, as his vizier. Kukunji served in a similar capacity in previous years with the Akkuyunlus. The political and administrative structure of the Akkuyunlus was taken over and consolidated under the Safavids, thus providing a measure of continuity in the government. To provide the Persians a stake in the empire, they were given a dominant share of civilian posts. It was Ismail's genius that in his person, the Turkish and Persian elements were fused to give birth to the unique Safavid culture. Following the capture of Tabriz, Ismail moved quickly to consolidate his hold on the territories once ruled by Uzun Hasan. Advancing westward towards Anatolia, he captured Diyarbakir. He then turned his attention to Iraq, capturing Baghdad in the year 1508. Meanwhile, a strong foe had emerged in Uzbekistan in the person of Muhammad Shaybani Khan. Shaybani had captured Herat and had extended his conquest to Khorasan, which was considered by the Safavids to be theirs. Conflict between the expanding empires of the Safavids and the Uzbeks was inevitable. The two armies met at the Battle of Merv in 1510. Shaybani Khan fell on the battlefield. The Uzbeks were defeated, not vanquished. They regrouped under Ubaidullah Khan and continued their struggle. The victorious Shah Ismail added Herat to his empire and appointed his governor to that province. It is in this melee involving the Uzbeks and the Safavids that we first hear of an enterprising young man, Zahiruddin Babur, the founder of the Mughal dynasty in India. Shaybani's death did not stop the resilient Uzbeks. His successor, Ubaidullah, returned with a fury to reoccupy Khorasan in 1512. Babur, who was at the time a young prince of 32, had his own claims to the territories of Farghana, which had been taken from his father by Shaybani Khan. In the Battle of Khuzdawan in 1512, between the Safavids and the Uzbeks over the control of Khorasan, Babur fought on the side of the Safavids against Ubaidullah. Nonetheless, Ubaidullah won this battle. Shah Ismail was not reconciled to the loss of Khorasan. The following year, when the Uzbeks got embroiled in a civil war, the Safavids reclaimed the province without a fight. Khorasan remained a Safavid province thereafter. Thus, in the course of 12 years, between 1500 and 1512, Ismail had conquered all the lands extending from Khorasan to the Euphrates and from the Caspian Sea to the Persian Gulf. He was no doubt aided by this effort by the unquestioned loyalty of his followers and the fervent religious zeal of the Safaviya order. His personal attributes included a dynamic personality, and he was a fearless warrior in combat. Shah Ismail's legacy was to give Persia social, political, and administrative stability and to bestow upon a land ravaged by centuries of Mongol and Tatar invasions an enduring religious cohesion and a distinct national consciousness. The present boundaries of Iran roughly correspond to those ruled by Shah Ismail, minus the territories of Iraq and eastern Anatolia, which were lost to the Ottomans, and parts of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia, which were lost to Russia in later centuries. Southern Afghanistan was contested between the Safavids and the Mughals, but became a part of the independent nation of Afghanistan in the 19th century. The large migration of Safaviya followers from Anatolia to Tabriz caused an alarm in Istanbul. The Ottomans, initially well disposed towards the Sufis, became suspicious of them after an attempt on the life of Sultan Bayezid II by a wandering dervish in 1492. When Ismail captured Tabriz in 1501 and made it his capital, the migration of Turkish followers of the Safaviya order accelerated. The movement was so widespread that entire border districts were depopulated. In 1502, the Ottomans cracked down. Anyone suspected of being a sympathizer of the Safaviya order or a Qazilbash was apprehended and deported to Thrace in northern Greece. Ismail's incursions into the Ottoman province worsened the situation. But the real confrontation between the Safavids and the Ottomans started in 1511, when Sultan Bayezid II fell ill and rumors spread that he was close to his death. The Qazilbash in western Anatolia, who had felt persecuted by the Ottomans, sensed an opportunity to get even and rebelled. Under the leader Shah Khuli, who had declared himself to be the Mahdi, they went on a rampage, indulging in widespread killings and lootings. In Islamic history, as we have seen in the Murabitun revolution in the Maghrib, social disaffections have often been expressed in religious terms. The uprising of Shah Khuli was not a religious war, much less a Shia-Sunni confrontation. Rather, it was an expression of the festering disaffection of some Ottoman tribes due to lack of opportunity in the Ottoman Empire, which had now become a political establishment. By contrast, the rapid expansion of the Safavids was a call to ambitious young men and restless tribes to try the luck at adventure and advancement. So potent and organized was this rebellion that the governor of the province fled before the rebels. An initial detachment of Ottoman troops under Prince Korkut was defeated. Bayezid II finally sent his Grand Vizier Khadim Pasha to crush the rebellion. In a pitched battle at Sivas in 1511, the rebels were routed. Both Shah Khuli and Khadim Ali Pasha fell on the battlefield. However, many of the Qazilbash escaped across the Ottoman-Safavid border. Some were apprehended by Shah Ismail and punished for their excesses, but most of them found a home in the Safavid armies. The porous border between Anatolia and Azerbaijan brought the first military confrontation between the Ottomans and the Safavids. Faced with an uprising in the east, the Ottoman Porte in Istanbul forced Sultan Bayezid II to abdicate in favor of his son Salim in the year 1512. This young monarch had witnessed firsthand the zeal of the Qazilbash while he was governor of Trebizond, a district adjoining Azerbaijan. Salim knew that a military clash with the Safavids could not be postponed. He advanced towards Azerbaijan, at the head of the disciplined Janissars. Shah Ismail and Sultan Salim I met at the Battle of Chaldiran in 1514. The Ottomans enjoyed a distinct advantage in artillery and in guns, and the contest was a disaster for the Safavids. So complete was the rout that in their haste to retreat, Shah Ismail's favorite wife was left behind the battlefield and fell into Ottoman hands. The Battle of Chaldiran was a defining moment in Islamic history and a benchmark for relations between the Ottoman and Safavid empires. It was the only time that the Safavids fought the Ottoman armies head-on, and it ensured that eastern Anatolia, and for a while parts of Azerbaijan, would be ruled from Istanbul. The city of Tabriz was exposed to Ottoman conquest, and the Safavids thought it prudent to shift their capital east to Isfahan. During subsequent incursions by the Ottomans, the Safavids chose to retreat, allowing the handicaps of distance, geography, and terrain to arrest Ottoman advances. The Battle of Chaldiran shattered Shah Ismail's spirit. Gone was his conviction that he was invincible in battle. He did not take part in any further military engagements, delegating the fighting to his generals. Shah Ismail, the leader of a Sufi order, rose to become the father of one of the most important dynasties in Islamic history, and the founder of a brilliant Islamic culture, which at its zenith combined the best traditions of Persia with those of the Turks, the Uzbeks, and the Afghans. Shah Ismail passed away in the year 1525. This concludes our session on the Battle of Chaldiran. In the next session, inshallah, we'll cover the movement of the seat of the Khilafat from Cairo to Istanbul. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.